You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. And now your footwear insiders, Matt Priest and Andy Polk.
Hello, shoe lovers! In vivo! In studio!
Is that live? That's Spanish for live,
That
right?
is Spanish for live.
I'm digging
That's
it.
Right. The future's so bright I had to wear shades, and then all of a sudden Donald Trump got involved.
You started taxing your shades?
Folks, this is Shoe and Show. We're covering all things footwear, connecting people across the industry, across the world on issues of importance to the footwear industry. We cover the back end, so we cover the business side. And one of the biggest things in business right now is the rising threat of potential tariffs. So this live show that we have coming today to you via our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. If you subscribe on the YouTube channel there, you'll know every single time we go live. Sometimes we surprise ourselves and go live, which is awesome. But with that, we've got the whole FDRA team in here today. We've got Jasmine. We have Thomas.
Hey.
We have Richard Matthew Priest.
That is my name. Don't wear it out.
The full name. That's his John Hancock right there. He just signs it away.
Yep, that's right.
And it takes a team effort to educate, to bring people together on these issues and to fight back on behalf of the footwear industry and the footwear consumers who really are going to bear the brunt of this. So this really is an update. It's an update on what's currently happening in regards to both the politics and the policy on potential tariffs and the trade war with China. And it's a trade war, and I'm not going to back away from saying that because it's devolved. It's not evolved. It's devolved into that.
Totally.
We've got things being thrown into this that have no rhyme or reason, like rare earth minerals that are now being used as leverage. Soon, if this continues, we'll have debt used as leverage by the Chinese against us because they own a number of our treasury bills.
Right.
We've already seen with Trump levying tariffs over the past year on product, the Chinese retaliated. And now, even with the proposed threat of new tariffs, they've already started to retaliate in terms of not so much price increases from their end on tariffs on the imports coming in, but just slowing down product getting out of the country. So at the ports, even flights where you might drop ship through air, they're slowing things down purposely.
Right.
So there's a number of levers that they're using as this keeps happening. So it's not just our industry, it's other industries as well that are kind of lumped into this. So the effect is for our industry, of course, we think about it and the negative, devastating consequences. But when you add in all these other things as well that's going to happen, we have a real big problem.
And for us alone, I mean, we already pay, duties to go up to 67.5% on shoes, average 11.2%. Everything else is closer to 2%. So we already have these substantial duties, and you're talking about a 25% added tariff on top of the tariffs we already pay. So we've said it many times that would be catastrophic for our industry. We're very concerned about it, and we're fighting really hard to stop this. But there's a lot of moving parts right now, as Andy mentioned. There's a lot going on a number of fronts. But we're leading the charge for footwear, and there's just a lot happening right now.
Oh my gosh, the pace of activity has been unbelievable because our industry is freaked out, as they should be. One of the shoes we've talked about is that one at 67.5%, which is a plastic shoe, kid's shoe. It's above $3. We looked at the numbers yesterday. About 900,000 pairs of that shoe came in last year. That's going to have a 93% duty rate. I think it's 37.5% plus 90 cents a pair. It's an effective duty rate of 67.5%. That's going to be a 93% duty rate. That's doubling the price of the shoe as it crosses the border, which is unheard of.
Now, if it was your daughter's grade, a 93, that'd be an A, so you'd be happy. But
that's right.
This is the opposite. This is
exact opposite.
This is like golf.
The lower the number, the better. That's right. Par would be great, 3% or whatever. But so we're
And that's something that's
freaked
only in
out.
China. Those type of shoes are primarily from China.
Yeah.
Children's shoes, you can't get those.
76%.
Yeah, you can't get them much anywhere else. So we're in really a difficult spot.
Yeah. And one thing I will say, since this is live and we do have a lot of viewers today, if you have a question, you can type in under the chat box on the right-hand side of the screen on our YouTube channel. You can type in questions and we can answer those in real time, so we can interact with you in that way. So we're covering more of what you want as we give updates. And again, if you hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, you'll be updated every time we go live and have a live show. So I just want to plug that in.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Let's start with, I think as we talk about these issues, let's talk about the politics maybe first, because the politics is really interesting. We were down at the FN CEO Summit a couple of weeks ago in Miami. And we had a lot of
all just started
it started to hit the fan, and we had a lot of questions. And I was telling CEOs and executives at the time, I wasn't quite sure that Trump would go far enough to actually add the new tariffs, because ultimately he I think really maybe doesn't, but I hope he knows that it is a tax.
Right.
And ahead of an election season coming up, you don't want to raise prices at retail on a number of goods. It's going to just hit people's wallets. So my political guess at the time was it's just leverage again. I'm now starting to rethink that based on conversations I've had in DC, that this is actually a tool for his campaign that he is attacking China on. And he actually thinks that if he does levy the tariffs, the economy is doing good enough that it can withstand it. And that is one of his keys to re-election, which I think is interesting politics.
Yeah, I think if you think about, he won, what was it, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan by 70,000 votes.
Yep.
And white working class, Reagan Democrats who voted for Obama twice came across back over and voted for President Trump in 2016.
Right.
He sees that as the pathway. And what are they concerned about? Anxiety over trade, anxiety over job closure, factory closures. And so how do you do that? You keep up. You got to keep this, and politically, you got to keep the China trade war going in his mind. The question is, do you jump the shark and do this additional duty that he's proposed, which will crush prices at back to school and holiday, which will recast the election going into a critical point as the primaries kick off in Iowa in January? Or do you maybe have dinner with Xi Jinping on June 28th in Japan, and you come out with another pause in the action, or you threaten 10%, you string it along so the impact is less, but you can continue the trade war continuously into the next year? That's the question. And I really struggle with, I think you're right, Andy. I think politically it makes sense to keep it going in his mind. But if you push this thing over the edge and inflation spikes as you're heading into 2020, then the American consumer is going to, or the American electorate is going to totally lock you into downward trends on the economy, which we're already seeing a little bit of. So it's a tough call, I think, politically for the White House to figure out how they do it. For the consumer, it's not a tough call at all. For the FDRA members, it's not a tough call at all. This is crappy. It is catastrophic. We've talked about that. It's not hyperbolic. We've had folks talking about closing their businesses over this. And when you hear that from your members, you got to get ramped up. And that's why we organized a letter with almost 175 footwear companies, because we wanted to send a message that these duties, we're the poster child. These duties do not work. They don't keep domestic production here, and they drive up costs for American consumers.
Yeah. Well, and one thing, getting tough on China is not, this isn't a new thing. This has been, President Obama had worked to address some of these issues as well. And past presidents, I think there's a discussion on the strategy, and the administration really believes in this strategy. And the challenge now is Biden, former Vice President Biden, who's running, has made some comments that give Trump some ammunition, then turns this into an election issue. So now we've got kind of a whole new state of play.
Dumb, man. That was so dumb. There's one thing that's totally bipartisan is this notion that we have to challenge China in certain areas of the economy. Doesn't mean you have to do tariffs on all consumer goods, but for the vice president to come out, the former vice president come out and say, "Oh, nothing to see here. China's a paper tiger." Just open. I think the president sees that as like a gaping hole to walk through politically, and to push him as soft on China, which I think is going to be an effective political message.
Yeah. And I do want to remind people, as you join and as you participate, we want you to add your comments in the chat box. You can ask us questions. you can give us your comments there and we can engage with you so that we can personalize this conversation. But ultimately, politically, I think this is an issue where Donald Trump, maybe before Joe Biden hopped in, he was going to run as a capitalist against the socialist wing of the Democratic Party. Joe Biden has kind of leveled that out a bit because Joe Biden is, pretty moderate overall and is capitalist. So that whole idea, that whole theme has kind of gone away, but I think he's trying to reignite that fight with China to try to make that case again in a different way.
Right.
And in essence, he's going to wrap himself in the flag and say, this is a fight all Americans have to take. So if you have to take a little bit of pain, then so be it, which is completely different than if you remember after 9/11, George W. Bush, who was president at the time, urged people to go out and spend money and to keep the economy going, and was very big on the fact that he didn't want America to feel a pain or a pressure point because he didn't think many people could handle it at the time. Right. So now we're in a different economic situation, but it's always House of Cards-esque if you followed like one of the last seasons of House of Cards.
Which I didn't. I stopped watching.
Well, I think most people did. But the idea was to
who was murdered was the chief economist the last murdered.
Spoiler. What? But there was a big push in terms of fear, right?
Yeah.
Creating fear around an issue in order to stop us from thinking logically about what's happening and make us feel like we have to make a emotional decision. It's almost like a car dealer when you walk in and they're like, they slide that piece of paper and like, show me your commitment, and then I'll give you a better deal. And it's like, no, brother, I'm not signing anything until I get the better deal, right? So it's an emotional kick up that we're seeing a lot of now around this. There's not a lot of rational discussion about. We talk a lot about the tariffs, but there are a ton of things that we could be doing on human rights issues, on South China Sea issues, on Arctic sovereignty issues, on Silk Road issues. Yep. There's a lot of global tools at our tool belt, WTO, UN, et cetera, where we could exert a lot of different pressures to get China to kind of become more, I guess, malleable towards IP issues and towards the international system. But we haven't really used those very well.
Well, because we've scoffed at the international system. The administration doesn't see the utility of the WTO and the UN and these other bodies to go out, NATO, to go after our kind of collective threats when you look at our allies. Because I don't see them as effective.
It's a huge mistake.
To the Chinese.
It's a huge mistake. I myself am not a huge internationalist in terms of these institutions, but if just a history lesson, the U.S. set up these institutions post World War II. We set ourselves up in the center of it, and we told the world, if you follow a democratic, internationalist, capitalist system, we can all grow together, and we have, and we've seen a ton of people lifted out of poverty. Yep. And as the world grows, America grows even beyond because we centered ourselves in that. So to take our situation away, to remove ourselves from the center of that discussion, takes away key diplomatic tools. It takes away key economic tools, and it makes us weaker. So I think it's a obviously many of us agree, some may not agree, but it is a huge mistake because I think in these situations where you're trying to get somebody to work with you or you're trying to don't you use all the tools available to you? Why are we just using one bludgeon hammer?
Well, the challenge with that too is, I mean, think about the tariffs we've got. They've been in effect since the 30s, since 1930 with the
90 years, man.
Tariff
Next year is the 90th anniversary.
I mean, once you put a tariff in effect, we have tariffs that are on shoes that are not made here at all. There's no domestic production,
right?
But you can't take those away. I mean, once you get that in, you get that revenue stream coming in. It's almost impossible to take them away. And so that's really the challenge with this is once these tariffs go into effect, when would they come off? And so that's one of the reasons we're working so hard and doing a number of things daily. We're doing a daily update. We're doing a weekly call. Yeah. We've sent the letter to the president from more than 170 footwear companies, brands, retailers.
Which blew up.
I mean, all over. We sent out 50 plus news stories in a 3-day period.
All just on the letter.
All just on the letter.
Yeah.
Everything from the BBC to local news stations that were interviewing college students who were concerned about, what's going to happen to their ability to pay for shoes and school supplies.
Yeah.
Just you name it. Any news company, Corporation America ran the story. So it was an incredible press week last week. Just really telling the story on the consumer impact.
Well, going back to Andy's point on the politics of it, when we started this process, quote, trade wars were easy to win. That migrated because we had to, one, take care of the trade deficit. That's what the administration sees this tool as. We can take care of the trade deficit, which is not what the investigation was launched to actually do. It was actually launched to curtail China's behavior and certain industrialized policies around forced technology transfers and et cetera. It's migrated into farmers are patriotic. Consumers are going to be paid. Now they're trying to stoke our patriotism.
Yeah, wrap themselves in the flag.
Right, the president said this week or last week, farmers don't want payouts. Well, we know that. He met with farmers this week or last week, and they basically said we don't want payouts. Mm-hmm. We want market access. And guess what? All these markets are closing up. China's closing up in particular for our exports, and it's so hard to get that back. Once China starts relying on soybeans out of Brazil, it's so difficult to kind of open that marketplace back. So my hope is that, the administration has a desire to strike a deal at the G20, a made-for-television deal like we've done with Chairman Kim of North Korea, like we've done in other iterations, and that they can come out and say, at a minimum, we're going to pause the action and reconstitute talks. Because right now, no one's talking, no one's meeting, there's no discussions going on, and that's very concerning.
So let's talk real quick about policy-wise, time frames, timetables, issues like that, and then I want to pivot us over and get Jasmine to start chiming in too on the consumer standpoint of what this means, because she follows a lot of the consumer trends and fashion trends and things like that, and we definitely want to hear about what's happening with that. But in terms of policy, people, there's a lot of importers, a lot of retailers wondering if this is put into place. When will it be put in place?
Yep.
And when would I see higher prices at retail? So where are we with the timetable?
There's a lot of confusion around
it.
So
what's the timetable? What are we looking at?
So one thing, List 3 went into effect from 10 to 25% a couple of weeks ago. Footwear is not on List 3. So
there's 3 lists. They're all at 25% now?
At this point,
That's
yes.
right.
All 3 lists are at 25%.
List 3 started at 10%, and then it increased to 25%. So
Right.
there's some debate as to whether List 4 tariffs would do the same thing, or that they would just go straight for 25%.
So List 4 is where footwear is.
Right.
That's
we
right.
don't know what the rate would be yet, 10
don't.
or 25?
The
I'm guessing
government
25?
Well, we're planning for 25. The government has not indicated, the administration has not indicated if it's going to be 10 or 25. I think they're thinking through what the strategy should be, but we have no indication about whether or not it's 10 or 25.
Okay. And where are we now? Are we in a comment period where so for the U.S. government, before they can implement policy, they typically have comment periods where public can have their say, so
Right.
that if something's implemented, they can't go back and say that there wasn't a democratic process.
We're in the middle of
right?
that. So it ends on June 17th. So right now you have an opportunity to testify at a hearing that begins June 17th. You have to notify USTR. You can go to ustr.gov, or you can email us, info@fdra.org, and we'll help you. But you have to notify USTR by June 10th about your intent to testify. And we have about, at this point, 8 to 10 footwear CEOs that have either already submitted their comments, their request to appear, or in the process of doing that, so that we can have a very robust representation for the industry at this hearing that is expected to last 2 weeks at 5-minute testimony increments. It just shows you the interest that is in that.
It's gonna be crazy. So stay tuned to us for that, because you're gonna have hundreds and hundreds of companies testifying, individuals testifying, and it's really important to keep in tune around that hearing, because that's what sets the timing for when this would go into effect.
Okay.
If you look at the other ones, the whole process for the past 3 lists is taking about 2 months. Right. To between the time the process starts and the tariffs are implemented, and they've said they're going to stick to the process.
Right.
So, so once that you've got 2 weeks of these marathon hearings,
Do you think that's going to extend? I mean, there's going to be
could.
thousands of people that are going to.
yeah, I mean, it could go.
Right?
I mean, it could go longer. I mean, I know they're planning for 2 weeks, but
Right.
you know, I mean, it could be really, really long, possibly late hearings, or you know, it could go beyond that. There's a deadline. So after the hearings close, the last day of the hearings,
Right.
you have one more week to
Right.
file anything else. You know, any rebuttal comments, any issues raised during the hearings, you can file a follow up.
Right.
And then after that is when we would expect an announcement on when
Okay.
the tariffs take effect. So given that time frame, starting June 17th,
Right. June 17th.
going 2 weeks, add one more week. The earliest that tariffs could go into effect would be July, probably mid-July at the earliest.
At the earliest.
Likely would be later than that, possibly, you know, August is if this happens. Again, we're also the same time, kind of a dual track is the president's meeting with Chinese President Xi at the G20 summit to
Right.
talk about this. So we're kind of doing these two different, the process and the politics
Right.
are going on at the same time. And so they're very much intertwined.
So I have two quick questions on this process. One, is there going to be a really long line? Is this at USTR? Is this where they're doing it?
It's actually at the
ITC?
International Trade Commission. Because it's
ITC?
going to be so big, they need a big enough space.
And there's going to be a long line. So should I now buy my shoe costume and show up and hand out flyers about shoe tariffs to let them
That's
know?
your
That's a
personal
great
business,
idea.
Andy. If you want.
You don't
So
already
it's
have
not on FDRA hours that I'm hearing. It's probably not an officially sanctioned action to raise awareness. Don't answer that question. Second question I have then is, are we encouraging small retailers, large companies, CEOs to file public comment? And
Absolutely.
Then what's the best way to do that? To collect that through info@fdra.org or to call us, look at fdra.org and just shoot us an email and let us know.
Yeah. So here's another thing. If you're not able to testify,
Right.
then you can submit a letter.
Submit the letter.
A letter on your company letterhead. Work with us on that.
Yep.
And you can file that through regulations.gov, and you still are part of the process. You
Right.
still weighed in. Your comments still matter.
And we can guide you through that.
And we can guide you through that.
It is cumbersome. It's like a DMV process. where
Exactly.
You got to
Yeah.
bring your paperwork. You got to wait in line. You got to,
It's actually less cumbersome than the DMV, but we are doing a lot of hand holding right now, which is, I think, helpful. And it actually helps us understand who's filing, who has an interest
Right.
of filing.
So
But
let us
email.
know.
I'd say email info@fdra.org if to let us know that you want to submit a letter, and we're happy to reach out to you and talk to you about how to do that.
Okay.
We
Next,
do have a question if we want to handle it, and I think and we can bring in Jasmine to the discussion.
let's ask one. I want to ask you one more thing
Sure.
because we just talked about the time frame. The question then is, when they enact the extra duty, if it is enacted,
Right.
when is the actual enforcement take place? Is that the same day at if they enacted it noon on a Tuesday, that means at 12:01 p.m. that Tuesday, as soon as the shoe hits the port or our international boundary, that's when the duty then becomes enforced?
Yeah, they'll announce it. They'll give you a date certain when it starts.
Right.
It will not be stuff on the water will not be protected. You'll not because they just did that on list 3. The U.S. government's never done that in our history.
Right.
They did that on list 3 because they had bumped from 10 to 25% in such a quick time. So list 3 went from 10 to 25% as long as it had been exported out of China on that Friday, went into effect back in earlier May, and got here by June 1st.
Right.
All the stuff on the water, then you were safe. This will not work that
Okay.
way. They will say date certain. It starts then. It has to be cleared through U.S. Customs to avoid it before the start date. And
So,
you
a
can
way to think
imagine
about a way to
lots
think about
coming in.
this is, if you're in, you're good. So if you're in, if you're not, drink gin. Right, lots of gin. You're either in or you drink gin.
I
There's
think you
no other way
drink
around
gin
it.
no matter what for
maybe.
nice folks.
Or if
Maybe.
you're having to deal with logistics, because just imagine what's going on right now as people rush to get this stuff over.
Right. And if we're talking about mid-July, maybe is the earliest that can happen.
Mid-July, August 1.
So you
yeah.
hit mid-July. If it's July 15th, let's say, then July 15th, that's when the duty starts getting hit.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's on the water. Doesn't matter if the factory's producing it. It's got to be in or you drink gin.
Right.
And then the flip side is for the retailers, by the time, that automatically starts pricing in,
Boom.
right? So as soon as
Right
that
at back to school.
SKU,
Right at back to school.
as soon as that SKU gets hit and you start to drop ship or the prices already are. So for e-commerce, you're automatically going to be hit nearly instantaneously almost once you get into your warehouse.
Yeah.
So within a week. And then at brick and mortar, as it filters in and you start filtering your inventory.
Now, if you have a foreign trade zone and you've brought your product into the zone prior to the implementation of any additional tariffs, but you don't bring it out of the zone until after those additional tariffs have been put into place, you are, as long as you've filed foreign privilege status, then you're okay. So you don't have to pull it out of your FTZ here in the States before the implementation takes effect if you brought it in to your FTZ before the implementation takes effect. Hope that makes sense. We can help you walk through that if you have an FTZ. We're not talking huge numbers of footwear, but people
it's a foreign trade zone.
That's right.
It's a group of, it's a geographic area, typically near a port or a place of import, and it's like basically a lot of warehouses with some barbed wire.
That's right. Secure doesn't technically enter into commerce in the United States, and people either export out, they're trying to avoid the duty, or delay the duty payment.
And because this is so complicated, we are doing, as a reminder, we're doing a lot on this, weekly calls, and would welcome folks to reach out to us about plugging into that so that you can stay informed on this.
Yeah, our next one's Monday at 2 Eastern for FDRA members. So if you have an interest in membership, Monday,
June 3rd.
June 3rd. If you're a member, we'll have you on. If not,
join.
Yeah, join.
You got to join FDRA. A lot of
companies are joining right now, actually. So it's people are wanting to be plugged into this.
And the reason is because membership dues go to fight tariffs.
Yep.
All right. That's exactly what it does. So that the idea of free riding, like it's happened in the past, you simply can't afford it anymore. We need a unified voice in Washington. We need a loud ass voice in Washington.
Yep.
FDRA is that voice. It's a force multiplier for you and your employees. Stop thinking about it and join. We need the money. We need the support to keep this campaign going. We don't know how long this is going to go, but if it goes into effect, in essence, this will go through the election.
Yeah.
He's not going to peel this off. It would be very unlikely because if he can't get that deal with Xi Jinping, this will be a campaign issue for sure, 100%.
Totally.
And we're going to be stuck with this, and it's going to take it could be 1 year. If he gets reelected, then that's 4 more years perhaps.
Yep.
We'll see how long it is, but you got to get involved. You got to contribute. You got to send in letters. I was posting something on LinkedIn the other day, and somebody was like, well, he won't listen. It's a terrible way to look at this. Our republic has never needed people to be more educated and more engaged and involved. And the idea that he won't listen and that your voice doesn't matter is poppycock from the Polk's mouth himself. Get involved. Send in letters.
Go, Andy. Go, Andy.
Join FDRA.
Go,
get on the calls.
Go, Andy. Go.
Don't just say you're upset. Do something about it.
I love it. In fact, to that point, it reminds me, come June 10th or so, we're going to have a portal that we push out to have all footwear employees and consumers engage with the government on this issue. So be looking for that opportunity. So you give money, you can send a letter in on corporate letterhead, you can agree to testify.
That's right.
Or you can, if you're just a footwear employee, if you are a footwear employee like we are, you can send in a letter on your own behalf to talk about it, and we'll have that.
The system is set up so it's on our website.
Yep.
You add in your information, you send it in less than 30 seconds. Thanks to Spark Influence.
Boom, done.
So you got no excuse. And if you want to be cynical, that's fine, but still send the letter.
That's right.
Yep. You could be cynical around your own dinner table, but don't bring that crap to my house. All right? Jasmine.
What's up? Yeah.
We do have a question on here.
Yeah.
And it's a good question. Do you think large footwear retailers have enough inventory on hand for back to school to be insulated from any increase in tariffs, especially if they take effect on June 20th? Well, it'll happen in July.
Yeah, it won't be June 28th.
But it is back to school season at the time. Will there be enough product already brought in?
I think so. I think that people are trying to work as quickly as possible to move up delivery times to sooner rather than later to
Right.
get that product in. In fact, we're going to tape an interview with Dr. Noel Hasigaba with the Port of Long Beach in about 30 minutes, talking about what the port's doing to get ready for this deluge of product that's going to come in. And so I think there'll be inventory there, but if something's selling hot, if you need a quick turnaround, if you got to air freight something in post the duties taking effect, and knowing that back to school starts probably early mid-July and runs all the way to September,
Right.
there's going to be, if the tariffs are 25%, there's going to be impact on
There's
back
not
to
going to
school.
be 100% insulation, right?
Right.
We're going to see some fungibility. There's going to be inventory already in, but there's going to be
Right.
other things brought in. Like, so it's kind of it's brackish.
That's
in that
right.
sense. So there's a mix between the salt water and the fresh water.
I thought you were talking about base realignment and closure, the process of closing.
Brack. This is brackish.
Got it.
Okay.
My bad.
Nice.
My bad.
So we've also run numbers and what it means for working class families. You can follow that on FDRA.org. Matt and I constantly post on LinkedIn. You can follow us on that to keep up with what's happening in real time. We don't always want to blast out emails at you, but we post on that. And then Thomas has been doing a really good job of almost daily sending out emails to our members, letting them know what's happening, keep them updated on different things and action items as they come through. But ultimately for consumers, Jasmine, this is going to be a huge hit. We talked about back to school, but I mean, even beyond that, if we're talking about, we're talking about, if you're buying a pair of shoes at Target that's fast fashion and they're $25 right now, we're talking about seeing them go to maybe $35 or something like that. It's gonna start peeling back people's appetite to buy multiple pairs at least, right?
Yeah, I think you noticed it mostly with the shoes that you rebuy. I feel like everybody has a normal pair of shoes that they will rebuy, whether it's like a pair of Uggs or a Sperry's or a Converse.
I'll testify to this. I bought 2 pairs of Boost this weekend. I never buy shoes.
Oh my gosh.
I was on Amazon.
That's like your
Amazon.
2-year
Wait,
quota.
I know.
Andy just spent his 2-year budget on shoes.
But I saw a pair of Boots for $85, so I bought it. And then I told my wife, she goes, "Oh, that's a good deal." And I was like, I should buy another pair now before the cost goes up. So I bought up, doubled up.
Yeah,
That's
I think
hilarious.
you definitely notice it with things like that you rebuy or like brands that you're like very familiar with. I would notice for sure because
Right.
there was like a time period where like Jordans went up, and I'm just like, that it didn't used to be like that because like all the new releases used to be the same price. Like
That's
I wouldn't
a
even
great
go check.
point we haven't covered because it is so noticeable when you buy the same product,
Right.
And the price even goes up like $1. You're like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
There's an instant up.
For sure.
I mean, I remember when the Chick-fil-A sandwich went up $0.25, and I was like, "What is happening? No, America, no, this cannot
Did you
happen."
get an extra pickle for that or no?
No, it's
One
only
less
2 pickles.
pickle.
Only 2 pickles. Yeah.
Not if my daughter, she's anti-pickle. So
Well, the key for Chick-fil-A is, and not everybody likes Chick-fil-A, but the key is if you order Chick-fil-A, you either get extra pickles or you get no pickles, and they make it fresh in the back for you.
That's
it's
nice.
not in the drawer.
Got
Just
it.
a little tip.
good to know.
Okay,
That's
good to
right.
know.
Yeah, just like McDonald's when you ask for no salt,
Right.
you get it fresh.
They spit
I
it.
didn't know that either. Wow.
No.
All right, back to shoes. Sorry.
But yeah, you'll definitely notice with those. I think for more so like the high end brands, I mean, I think people will care about like the product that they're used to. I don't know so much about new product
I wonder if it's
or new stuff.
for higher end people who have a lot of disposable income, who buy a lot of fashion goods.
Yeah, like $450 and up for a pair of shoes.
Maybe it doesn't mean that they won't buy the pair of shoes, but maybe it means they won't buy the scarf, or they won't buy the handbag, or they won't buy
Right.
the jacket, or they
Or
want
just the quantity. Maybe they won't
Right.
buy 2.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it's children's shoes, I mean, think how many pairs you have to go
buy.
through. Right.
Yeah.
Have to buy the shoes.
That really sucks.
No options. And you get about multiple pairs per season.
By the way, I love breaking news. I love having our chief economist is watching us, and he just sent me a Skype note that says the inventory question, given first quarter import data, he doubts there's been much pre-stocking of inventory for back to school to be insulated by a tariff hike. So there you have it from our economic mind.
That's why we need to do
Real time.
live shows right there.
We
So
do,
can
yeah. We get
put that in
corrected
there.
by our team on the
There was our buddy Alan asked us to write down a timeline with bullet points, so maybe we'll add that to our next email blast that we send out to our
Okay,
members.
yeah,
give them a timeline with bullet points, kind of a flow chart.
Yeah,
of what
that's
we-
good.
Here's
We'll do-
another question that I'm really glad is asked. ask, because we've been talking about this ad nauseum. Can you clarify something on the duty? Will the increases go to 25%, or will 25% be added to existing tariffs? It's in addition to. It is not in lieu of. It's not a replacement of. It is 25% on top of what other current duty rates are. And I mean, for some duty rates, if it was 25%, it'd be a deal because we have a 48% duty or 67.5%. But this is a duty rate on top of it, and that is really important to know. It doesn't take the place of it. So if you hear that, some factors are saying they're caps. I've heard people in China saying there's a cap on it. There's no cap.
Ain't no cap.
No caps. It is not in lieu of. It is in addition to. So do not be fooled.
Pay your current duty.
That's one that.
And then add 25% on top.
Right.
That's why that letter signed by more than 170 footwear companies said, we're very concerned that some shoes could have duty rates up to 100% with these, if the 25% tariffs go into effect.
That's right.
Well, the other thing is I want to tie in the consumers to the politics, right? Matt's been on a number of shows, and one of the shows he recently did had a farmer from Minnesota on there talking about how catastrophic it is for their ability to export.
Right.
And that creates uncertainty in their crop rotation cycles, all those sort of things. But I was also thinking too, it's not just your end product; it's the cost at the front end. Because if you got to buy a new pair of boots to hop on your combine, then your boots are going to go from $190 work boots to $250.
Yeah.
So your costs on the front end of that, not just in the farming. And then the same thing,
boots,
hunting boots. So as if these guys are going back to the same products they're buying, men or women going back to hunting boots or to the work boots or even to the kids' shoes that they're used to seeing, and they're going back to the same brand, they're getting basically the same product, maybe a different colorway.
Yeah.
And then see that price increase. It's going to be real. This is not what the president anticipates is something that people will just be like, okay, this is cool. When you see a price go from $10 to $15 or $20. That's not a quarter.
Yeah.
No.
That's not $1. That's not regular inflation where you understand because you got more money in your pocket.
Right.
That's infuriating. I mean, we got I won't say that there's going to be like riots or something, but there's going to be a lot of social angst in this country where people are like,
Yeah, when you jack up those prices. And the president keeps claiming that the Chinese pay the import duties. I understand the point he's trying to make in the sense that at the end of the day, if you change consumer behavior here in the U.S. that decreases demand on Chinese goods, the Chinese will pay by the lessening of orders, the movement of sourcing, the migration out of China. But to technically say that the Chinese pay import duties is not factually correct. American import companies pay it. This would constitute, by a Republican president, one of the largest tax increases in American history. If I told you that a Republican president was proposing one of the largest tax increases in American history to alter, in a sociological experiment, if you will, consumer behavior and force us to buy products from different locations just based on tax policy, you'd be like, no, that sounds more like something would come out of the far left. No, this is what's being proposed, and that's why I think so many people are spooked by it.
Well, and I think people can have different. I mean, you can disagree about Trump, you can disagree about internationalism, but the point I think we're trying to make, and that other industries are trying to make, because some industries are getting hit, both ways too, on both their exports and their imports. Everybody's saying, look, tariffs this isn't the right approach to make U.S. consumers, U.S. companies bear this burden, and so that's the message that we're really trying to get out.
Yeah, exactly right. So with that, we're going to wrap up the show. We've been going for 45 minutes strong, and we're going to keep going 45, 90 days, 180 days, 365.
Whatever it takes, Andrew, whatever it takes.
Something. I can't do the math that far ahead. We're going to keep going and fighting for the footwear industry. But as we wrap up, we want you to know that there's people here fighting for you. And if you're an FDRA member, make sure that you're getting the emails. Make sure you're reading them. Stay engaged. If you're not an FDRA member, you need to join. I'm not going to make any bones about it. Put your money where your mouth is. If you actually care about this issue, you care about your consumers, and you care about your employees, you need to join FDRA. There's no other way to put it. I'm not going to soften the blow to what that is. Contact me. I'll make you a deal to join. apolk@fdra.org. And we'll work with you on that. But you got to join. You got to get involved. We got to be unified. Stay engaged. Don't be cynical. Take action. And with that, I want to thank Thomas. I want to thank Matt. I want to thank Jasmine. join the live shows as we go forward. Hit the subscribe button right below the live feed. If you have more questions, hit us up, info@fdra.org. But with that, our live show is ended. Thank you very much for joining us. And we hope those who watch this afterwards will enjoy this and be educated and engaged and activated. Thank you.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.